Hi, and welcome to the Web of Light. Our show is dedicated to introducing you to people who are committed to bringing more positive love and light to our planet. My name is Reverend Dr. Lori Powers Otto, and I will be filling in for Dr. Kevin, over the next few weeks. Dr. Kevin has gone to be by the side of his very dear friend who has gone into hospice. So we at the Web of Light ask you to join us in sending Dr. Kevin, his dear friend, and their family lots of love during this time of transition. So today I have not so much a quote, but as a prayer to share with you. And it's called the Shaman's Prayer. And this means something to me, and I hope to all of you. It says, I am already given to the power that rules my fate. I cling to nothing, so I have nothing to defend. I have no thoughts, so I will see. I fear nothing, so I will remember myself. Detached and at ease, I will dart past the eagle to be free. The Shaman's Prayer, what it is it's an affirmation of the spiritual warrior, which probably most of you watching this show and many in our world are waking up to their spiritual aspects of themselves, and they're becoming spiritual warriors. This is a prayer that you use in times of stress, or in times of danger, or just when you want to sleep at night. It brings you so much comfort and power. And it is a positive statement of intent, and it helps you generate a stronger relationship with life, your life, the life around you, all the life that exists that we turn a blind eye to. So saying this Shaman's Prayer, it creates a vibration that can completely alter your conventional perception of reality. You'll see more. You'll see with more than just your eyes. You'll see the wind. You'll see the animals. You'll see the birds. You know, so often, I see eagles and hawks all the time. But I have some of my neighbors who never see them, even though one was on my fence one day and the neighbors still didn't see it. This helps you see those things and realize there's so much more to us, and it gives you power. So I asked you to consider it. Our guest today is Claire Bentley, and she is a practitioner of shamanic healing. She's helped many to find clarity and their own power. It is said that people leave a session with Claire feeling that they can do something about their situation. And all of us want to have that feeling, that we have the power. So, Claire, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Lori. It's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, you haven't always been a shaman.
That's probably true.
Well,
I've had the awareness. I've had the awareness. When I was a very, very little child, I can remember having a friend and telling my parents. We lived in a communal house. We had grandparents and aunts and uncles and my parents and siblings. And I'd say, well, you'll never believe this, but, blah, 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 blah. And at first they looked a little startled because there was nobody else there. And then after a while they sort of looked at me, did a little eye roll, and give me a pat on the head like, this is the weird one.
Yeah,
As a child, I got the hint and put it away for a period of time.
Many of us do, though, because of that very kind of response. Parents that don't know how to deal with it,
it's startling for them. They didn't know what.
Right.
They didn't know what this was all about.
Nice.
But after a period of time, a fairly short period of time, probably I was maybe like 9 or 10, it came back, and now it fit better. And then I still chose very carefully who I might share things with, if ever.
Right.
But I recognized that this was part of me.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Made a big difference. big difference.
But you haven't been a practicing shaman, I mean, where you see clients as a shaman.
Yeah, I've had a lot of training. I don't consider myself a shaman per se, but what I am is a practitioner of the shaman healing arts. I was always drawn to, and we have to be careful about the word shamanism. It's a sacred word. I don't want to bandy it about too much. About the healing, earth healing, people healing. So when I did a lot of research, I did it Celtic and Tibetan and the Native American, but when I hit the Hawaiian, even now I have goosebumps. That was my place. And I did study, and I did learn some things, and surprisingly, as I went further, I was drawn to Don Miguel Ruiz, his teachings, and took some classes with him. And then I was drawn to a Peruvian, and it was really kind of funny because I looked at this man's picture and thought, oh, no, that's not my teacher. But I kept on going back, and then when I heard part of an interview, I thought, the voice. All right, yes, this is a good fit. So what I would like to say is, especially through this Peruvian, Don Oscar, he was saying, because his classes were for people who were already practicing, for the most part. They were not beginner students, they were more advanced students.
Right.
And he said, well, why don't we just coin the term universal shaman?
I like it.
I loved it because all the things that I had come across just pointed out to how few differences there really were.
Yes.
And how many more correlations there were. Oh, languages might be a little different because that's a cultural thing.
Right.
But the basic beliefs, the reference for the earth and the universe, and the reference for even people and for everything that is here, and the connectedness, that's what's so strong.
Right.
And no matter what belief system, if you want to call it that, you study with, that stays the same. And as I proceeded from the Hawaiian, and that's still with me very much, to the Don Miguel's, to the Peruvian, I found this pillar of steel that turned into a pillar of fire.
Nice.
That
Yes.
really just kept on resonating and resonating and resonating. And I thought, okay, I'm here. I'm home. I am home.
That
was the biggest thing.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It really is. I mean, growing up, my grandparents worked on an estate, and I would go spend as much time as I could there, just being in nature and relating to nature. And my grandfather taught me how to garden and all of that kind of stuff, and the animals, and how to be, even how to be a responsible fisher person. I don't want to say fisherman because people get upset. It's silly.
It's all right.
But you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I never, and I grew up believing that I was part Native American, so I really embraced all of that. And, but I never really understood it until I took a basic shamanism course.
Okay.
And then I took another, as part of my college studies, I took a shamanism course.
Okay.
And that made it all make sense. Why Hawk has always been around me my entire life.
He's behind you right now.
He's always with me.
Yes,
every
he is.
day. I either physically see one or a picture of one.
Yeah.
Every single day without fail happens organically.
Yes.
And a couple years ago, Eagle started hanging out at my place.
Okay.
About 5 or 6 years ago. And Eagle comes, well, probably at least once a week, maybe twice a week. I mean, it's such a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
It just is such an amazing gift. And this is a story that not many people can appreciate, but I think you will. My husband and I are driving down the highway.
All right.
So we're doing 60 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And this gigantic black feather comes up the highway, hits the middle of the grill of my car, travels up the middle of the hood, up over the middle, the whole thing, perfectly in the middle of the windshield, and up over the roof, and disappears.
I have goosebumps. Oh my goodness.
Right?
Yes.
That
Perfect.
every time I think about that, I
There are
feel
so many messages for you there. Oh my goodness. So many messages.
right.
Really.
I just feel
How did that
elated.
change your life when you thought that?
I think for my husband and myself, because we were both just in such awe
Yeah.
that whenever we need a pick me up, we think of that moment.
Yes.
And we feel like it was like a huge blessing.
Oh, indeed.
You know what I mean?
Indeed,
We are
yes.
so grateful for that
Yeah.
moment.
Exactly.
And I don't know how to express it. You know, I know you're not allowed to own an eagle feather, but that eagle feather owned us. you know?
It was a gift.
Yes.
It was a gift totally given freely, again with the message for you that this is part of who you are.
Right.
Yes. Ah, wonderful, wonderful story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Every time I think of it, it's like I float off somewhere different. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
so beautiful.
Exactly.
But tell us more about you.
Ah, well, okay.
Who is Claire?
A seeker. And, well, I think we are all seekers. But of course, let me just segue into just one little thing, a little tangent here. People think in terms of medicine people and shamans, the 4 cardinal points of the compass and all that. Well, there are actually 7. North, east, southwest, above, below, within.
Ah.
The within part is the fascinating part. And I say this without ego because I never know when I start going into my heart just what I'm going to find.
Right.
And your eyes to just be totally opened up as to the depth of feeling, the depth of wisdom in your own heart. I once had a client who sat with me, and I can't even remember what her issue was, whether it was smoking or whatever, all that stuff. But anyway, she sat with me, and I started to proceed to go into a little heart meditation. And I just said, just ask your heart. We used crystals, we used different things to help her. And she started to do that, and then she said to me, but that's just my heart. I should be listening to this or that. And I said to her,
What?
I know, it really struck me. And I said to her, who else better to advise you with great love and compassion than your own heart?
Right.
This is who you should be listening to.
Absolutely.
It just surprised me when she actually was sort of denying her own wisdom.
Wow.
Her
See?
own wisdom.
And that's too
Amazing,
many people
isn't it?
do that. It's boggles
It's all based
the
in
mind.
fear.
Yes.
And there is no fear. Without fear, everything else drops away. And how do you proceed to go to the no fear part? Well, it takes a little while.
Yeah.
Because even to this day, there are times when things happen, I think, that just happened to me? Was that real?
Yeah, but we all have that moment.
Yes.
Every one of us. Yeah, we've been there.
When I did the very first land blessing, I was new to all of this. And I was very fortunate to come across a group of people who were shamans in their own right. I mean, real, true shamans. And we were going to go to a place in Westford, Mass. To do a land healing. We had known had done the research, had done the research and found that there had been a catastrophe of some sort. We couldn't ever really nail it down. There had been a massacre of some Christian Native Americans there. There had been illnesses. There had been an awful lot of happening that was not, sort of a negative way, right? So I'm invited to join the group, and there's 5 or 6 of us. Well, I had an offering. I was so new I didn't bring tobacco. I had no idea, right? But I brought a piece of earth from my herb garden. I did do
Nice.
that. And so we all brought our offerings. It was a very emotional moment. And then they very, I don't know how to say it, gallantly let me start to say some opening words. And the next thing I knew, I had opened a vortex. And I was allowing the people who had been there, spirits, if they so choose, to leave.
Wow.
And if they so chose to stay, they could stay. But here was the opportunity. And then we did some chanting, and we had the different musical instruments, the drumming and all this. And I've never forgotten it because there were 3, honest to God, shaman people there. And I had this opportunity. And that's when I began to say, you know, this is where I belong.
Spirit made sure you understood that.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. We got to see the spirits of the land going through this vortex to a great wide area. And there were some who stayed behind. So I asked them, you're choosing to stay behind? And they said, yes, we are the protectors. And I said, See, I was very new. And they were the protectors of that particular piece of property. And I said, then that is as it should be.
Yeah. And yeah, the one thing, being, you know, a psychic or being a shaman or any of these other connections to the earth that we have lets us understand that people think, oh, there's a spirit, it's bad. No. Most of the time they're not. A lot of times they're neutral.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So you got to see those who needed help crossing over.
Yes.
But you got to see those who love us and this world enough to stay behind and
As
be our protectors.
And that's the word that they used. We are protectors of this land.
That is an amazingly beautiful gift.
Then thank you. What a gift.
Yeah.
Truly. You talk about spirits and being afraid. I'll share one little story when I was 9 years old. When I was starting to come into myself a little bit about this. My family moved to another house. And so the family house, we had all these people living in it. Now there were a couple people who had passed, so there was a few number of people. But we got a 2-family house. And in the 2-family house, it had separate boilers in separate parts of the cellar and all this. Well, in our part of the cellar, where the fuse boxes were and clotheslines. Remember clotheslines?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yes. My siblings and I weren't talking much about it, but when we went by the boiler, we were afraid. There was something we did not like. We were uncomfortable and all that. And so, of course, came the moment when my mother said, go down to the cellar and get the blah, 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 blah off the storage shelves. I said, fine. All right, so I get down there, and I really don't want to be there.
Right.
I mean, hackles are rising on the back of my neck. And now I am getting so angry at myself for being afraid that I stood in front of this boiler. I stomped my foot, and I said, look, you're never going to scare me again. If you need to leave, then leave now. But you're not going to make me afraid anymore. I've decided that.
Nice.
And right about that time, the boiler fired up. And I could see the flame through the little door. And I felt at peace.
Nice.
Fast forward a few years, and my sisters get together on the holidays and all. So we were talking about the thing in the cellar.
Right.
And then I was told, without having to say a word, that there came a time when they weren't afraid anymore. Whatever had been there was gone. It was probably residual energy. That's all it was.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But it needed someone to say, okay, go. It's time.
This little 9-year-old standing in front of this big boiler.
You know,
It's fine.
physical age doesn't mean much.
No, it doesn't. It's truly. So.
I've seen some kids that have way more kahunas than full-grown adults.
But what I really, really love about this work, what really, really makes me feel good and solid about being here is when someone comes to me with a problem. They can't see that that's maybe not the real issue, and we work our way down through to where the core issues are. And then we gently help them to find the courage to deal with it.
With the real issue.
Absolutely.
So if I came to you, say, I was constantly making bad choices in my relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Having a few sessions, I would assume, with you, because it's rarely is it a one and done for anything.
Yeah, you're right.
It took us a long time to make this mess, right?
You
But
might be surprised.
you could help me get to the root cause of why I keep making that.
Of why you make that choice. Is it a pattern? Is it an ancestral pattern? Is it something that came from somebody else? Is there something that has been affecting you, somebody else's energy, which you have allowed to remain? And therefore, it's a pattern repetition. So there could be any number of reasons, but yes, we could help you with that.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So now you're going to be at the Web of Light Expo.
Yes.
And what are you doing there?
Well, I have my friends, my crystals.
Nice.
Yes, the crystals are, I am the caretaker of a great number of crystals. Some rough, some polished, some jewelry pieces, some carvings. And I look at it this way, that I am the temporary caretaker. And each time I go to an event, you're going to laugh, right? I get them out there and I say, okay, who wants to come?
Right. Well, of course.
And the ones who are supposed to come, let me know. And I pack those up. And next thing I know, they have found new owners. And that's how it has to be.
Right? It's only funny because I go monthly to a crystal class.
Do you?
And part of the crystal class is you get to know your crystal. You get to know its properties, its name, why it chose you.
Yes.
Because let's face it, we don't choose crystals.
That's right. They come
choose
to
us.
That's true.
You know, so, and then I go home and my husband's like, what's this rock's name? But he's starting to understand. They all do, just like people, they all have different personalities. They have all different missions.
That's right.
And I love that I get to have an intimate relationship with, you know, something my husband looks at and goes, oh, it's a rock. Yeah. So I totally get where you're coming from. Excellent.
Yeah, my husband thinks it's funny, though, because he'll see me with them all spread out, and he'll say, okay, which ones are coming? He said, well, they haven't told, oh, no, that one's coming, that one's coming. Okay, get the other box out, we'll do this, we'll do that, and we get it all set.
Right. Well, because they're ready. They know that their person is going to be there, and it's time for them to move on to that person. You're a vessel.
It's right. It's the caretaker.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I might have a slight crystal problem.
Don't we all? Well, even little children are intuitively prone to bending down and picking up a rock.
Oh, I always did as a child.
So did I.
My mother still has a rock I gave her when I must have been 3 or 4 years old. I just thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Well, there you go.
Well,
Right.
picked it up, took it home, gave it to my mom.
And at that time, it certainly was the most beautiful thing you'd ever seen in your life.
Probably.
Sure.
Probably.
Yeah. So we use crystals sometimes in the healing sessions. We use any number of things. There are some very simple ceremonies. There are some that are a little more complex. I sometimes will be able to journey for somebody. That took some practice, but it's kind of a fun thing to do. I don't mean fun. I mean interesting thing to do.
Always interesting.
Yes, always interesting. But I love this work.
Nice.
I love helping people find not just closure, but find how can they change.
Right?
How can they get out of this track that they're on, that they've chosen, whether they realized it or not.
Right. Many people
And then
don't.
can they change something that they know, this is not working for me, this is detrimental, why am I keep on doing this kind of thing?
Right. And like
What's
me,
going
you
on?
must hear it all the time. I'm stuck. Stuck. Stuck's a funny word. You're not actually stuck. You just don't yet have the tools to move beyond.
Or the awareness.
Or the
I look upon it
awareness.
as the awareness because everybody is at a particular level that they have so chosen. They have so much potential. Oh my goodness. I mean, they could go as far as they wanted to go, even beyond that, if they would allow it.
Right.
And once some of those barriers are down and the fear goes away, then the limitless possibilities are right there in front of them.
I know. Isn't it amazing? It makes my heart sing when my clients and or students bloom.
Mm-hmm.
And when they move on, because like me, I'm sure your goal is to have them move on.
Absolutely.
Not, I don't need a recurring client.
No, I don't.
I need you to, my job is to help you bloom and grow.
Yes.
And that's what I see with you, is you help people bloom and grow and step into their own power.
That's the biggest thing, to have the courage to do that. And it takes courage sometimes. It takes a great deal of
absolutely.
courage. When you've been doing something for a very long time, it's not the best thing for you to do, you know that. Intuitively you know that. And yet, what happens to you if you change? Are you the same person? Will you really want the change to occur? There's a lot of fear around that. So we kind of bolster that and say, okay, it's really okay. We'll do what we need to do to help you find that courage to take that step, because only you can take the step.
Right. And for those who are wondering, this is, neither one of us are, we're not just totally just woo-woo people.
No.
We live in this real world. We work, we have lives, we have families, we have jobs,
Yes.
Well, some of us have jobs. I work for myself, so I don't really consider it a job. But you've done other things in your life too, studious things.
Yes. I'm an engineer by trade.
Right, so a lot of people have trouble reconciling an engineer with a shaman.
Well, I'll tell you, the very first time I was exposed to Carolean photography, I went, whoa. But I could explain it in frequencies. And I went, okay, I can explain this. Ah, all right, yes, I'm comfortable with that now. And I began to just expand. And then when people began talking about quantum theory and string theory, and went, I knew this.
Right, because it ties together.
Absolutely.
They actually are partners.
That's right, everything resonates.
Yes. And that's what I love about all of this, is science backs it all up.
It does, indeed. And it's not a matter so much of belief, but of being fact.
Right, so for those people who used to dismiss these things as, old-fashioned and nonsense and silly, no, science is bearing all of this out.
Absolutely.
And, way back even Socrates believed in all this. Einstein was a big proponent. Even Stephen Hawking was a big proponent of...
Oh, Hawking's, yes.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So why do you think this man was able to outlive his horrible diagnosis for, 45 years or something like that? I mean, like a crazy long time.
Incredible amount of time.
It was a miracle.
He had a purpose, and he recognized it and kept
Yes.
on moving with it. And then when he saw that his purpose was nearing an end, when he'd gotten the message out there, and
Yes.
things had started to change, he'd left his legacy.
Yes.
When that had occurred, he would choose to not stay around anymore. And that's how I look at it.
Yes, and I agree with you. That's how I look at it. But I just love the marriage now between science, traditional science and metaphysics.
Absolutely.
I think it's important that people understand that it is a marriage. That this is real.
Exactly. We used to talk in terms of the mind-body connection, and I found that turned a lot of people off. So instead, what I would say is something like, you can make anything happen. And they'd say, well, I have this disease and all that. Then, well, okay, what do you want to do about it? Have you done some research? Let's start with the pragmatic part of it. I hit a point in my own life not that long ago. Some personal issues that I was dealing with, and I was stuck.
Yeah, funny little word.
And I began to do some research as to, all right, what can I change? So I went through a battery of physical tests, just blood tests and all this.
Right.
And the naturopath I was working with said to me, how often do you eat eggs? I said, well, about 4 or 5 times a week. And she said, you're highly allergic. Change that in the diet. I'm not stuck anymore.
And how simple was that?
Because I was full of inflammation.
Right.
And so the poor body was doing all it could, but there was a big message here for me that there's something not right, so do something about it. It's part of also the healer, the medicine healer thing of taking responsibility. We're given these bodies. They are what they are. But you know what? It's like care and maintenance of a car. We have to take care of ourselves first. How can we take care of anything else and spread the word and be at our best if we haven't done something about our bodies, if they're not right? And by right, I mean the egg allergy. That was huge.
Yeah.
And yet, the change from not eating any eggs at all was remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, and it is amazing. I've had similar experiences in my life that just simple dietary changes have made the most amazing differences.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy, and that's part of though what teachings like shaman, healing arts teaches you, is that when you look beyond the obvious.
Yes.
You see so much more.
Exactly. And I had actually lost touch with my body because usually I was very much in touch with my body. Oh, there's something wrong here. There's this going on right now. And okay, I can do that. And that will fix that. And I had totally, because of other things that were overwhelming me, I had put myself on the back burner. I won't say it's not going to happen again, but it's not as likely to happen quite as remarkably as that.
Well, I think there's a point in our lives where we all do that.
That's true.
And it's if you listen to the wake-up call, or if you choose to ignore it on how things are going to go.
Yes.
I myself learned the hard way, don't ignore it.
Exactly.
I take that airline warning very strongly when they say, if the oxygen masks come down, put your own on first.
That's
and
right.
Then take care of everybody else.
Exactly.
That is a great analogy for all of life.
It is indeed. And unfortunately, I've seen a great number of women who tend to deal with other things first, and other people first, and other problems first. And well, I'll get back to myself later, kind of thing. We're not realizing that in the long run, if you're not there, who will do all those other things?
Right. There might not be a later.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's not just women. I know men that do the same thing, but it does seem to be more ingrained in women.
I think more prevalent. We allow it to happen. We take on a lot of responsibility for others.
Yeah.
And forget ourselves.
Now, do you have classes or events coming up?
Well, I have a presentation at the Web of Light, and I'll be talking about, believe it or not, your words.
Nice.
So, if you're in gridlock, and of course gridlock never happens on the highway or on your roads unless you really need to be somewhere.
Of course.
I mean, otherwise it wouldn't have been
right.
Wouldn't have been terrible. I tend to just say, all right, okay, universe, I'm here for a reason. What's going on? And I might actually have a little Post-it note. Sandra Ingerman taught me this on the dashboard saying, joy. Like, oh, I can't feel that right now, but I can feel calm. All right, I'm here, so be it. And just think of the words that you say. For example, here's a good example. If you're in a situation where you're coming into a business meeting, for example, and you just know it's going to be a confrontational meeting. I mean, there's going to be a hot topic. You represent one facet of it, and at least 2 or 3 people represent other parts of it, and it's going to be confrontational. One thing you might consider, because this worked for me very well when I was working, before you open your mouth, right, you look at the person who's like, they're just waiting for you to say something.
Yep.
They've got it ready. They have a response like you can't believe. You say, in your mind, you simply send them blessings.
Right.
I was amazed how when I had sent blessings, and I truly meant it, I couldn't be confrontational. I would simply state facts, bare facts, and no opinion. And then inevitably, people would sort of back off a little like, oh, well, yeah, that's true. And then we were able to do something.
Right, because you're not bringing the fight to somebody who's expecting it.
That's right. It was funny to see their faces, though.
Right. Oh, yeah. And that's the easiest way to take, if you know someone's itching for a fight, just take the wind out of their sails. Send them love, send them blessings. Say, how are you today? Something that just makes them go, wait, what? Changes the whole dynamic every time.
Because we don't realize sometimes the energy that comes with our words.
Right.
And some of the negative words can really, well, again, as my mentor Sandra Iggerman said, has poison arrows. You can express something without sending out a poison arrow. That's how she puts it.
Exactly.
And so this is part of what I'll be doing in the presentation.
Nice, very nice. And do you know what time your presentation is?
No, I do not. I've actually looked on the website, and I have to talk to Kevin. I guess I don't think he's put it on there just yet.
Oh, yeah, and I apologize. I don't have the schedule
That's
memorized either.
He said he had a slot open for me, and I'd sent him the information.
Yep. Well, I think it's going to be a wonderful topic. I know that when Dr. Kevin is back from being with his friend, he will get all of that taken care of and updated and sent out. So everybody check the website. It's going to be an amazing weekend.
Oh, it will be. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I
too.
think a lot of good will come out of this weekend.
Well, the energies are tremendous. And once you start putting that pebble in the puddle and watching the ripples come out, it's not just going to be at that hotel or through the city of Nashua. It's just going to go out.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I look forward to that.
Nice. Yes. So now the other thing that I know about you is that you're a pilot.
Yes.
So tell me about that. Because that you were telling me, beforehand that it very much correlates with studying the shamanic healing arts. So
oh my gosh, absolutely. I learned to fly at a fairly young age. I was the only one in my family. I worked and would spend my money. That was the only place I spent money, was to learn how to fly, pay for the flight lessons. And as a 16-year-old going into 17, I found my place there, that I could do something. I could make this airplane fly. I could be with the airplane. I was one with the airplane. And it was just an absolutely wonderful, empowering feeling. It truly was. So when I began to study more, do some more research and study about shamanism, even before that, yes, there was a funny thing. I attended a group where we were doing meditations, guided visualizations. And two things happened. In one of the guided visualization, the woman is describing this wonderful meadow, it's a springtime thing, and I'm underground looking at the roots. I'm thinking, what?
Yeah. Yeah, just because they're saying something isn't always what's happening. Yeah.
Exactly. And then when she was saying something about, I don't recall what she was really talking about, but it was the same meditation, same guided visualization. I found myself flying over the earth, through the universe, and I'm thinking, this feels really good. I know what this feels like. This is really good. I'm in my element now.
Nice.
And so it occurred to me that I'd been in the upper world many times, many, many, many times, in my dreams, in the flying, and it just fits. It's as though I finally had an awareness that lots of bits and pieces of my life have come to this particular point where every bit counts.
Yes.
And it's very meaningful. There is nothing in my life, and I consider that I had a blessed life, there's nothing that is not meaningful into coming together for the culmination today of who I am.
Nice. Very nice. That's beautiful. And a lot of people need to accept that. The good, the bad, the ugly, the wonderful, it all comes together to make us who we
you've
are.
learned, you've learned from things that you don't consider good because you had to get through it, right?
Right.
It's that thing about the only way through something is actually through it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, good and bad, they are just labels that we construct.
Exactly. But it makes you wiser. It makes you more the person who's true to yourself. This is the strong person that I am. This is, I've already done this. I know I can do this again should it come up. In fact, I might even know how to avoid it. I remember the pain. Yeah, don't need to go there again.
Don't want to do that
That
again.
sort of thing.
Right.
So it's interesting how, and this is true for almost everybody, if you start looking at what they've done, what they've been exposed to, and who they are, it's all meaningful. And
Nice.
it's beautiful.
It is. It really
All the
is.
little pieces of the puzzle come together.
Right. And when you see the whole picture, I'd say the vast majority of people go, it's been a pretty damn good life.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That is beautiful. So, so what, other than the talk at the expo, April 21st and 22nd, what do you have anything else coming up?
Yes, I have. I've got a workshop in development. It's probably going to be a 4-session, like 4-week kind of thing, and I'm negotiating right now for some space to do it. It's going to be furtherance of the presentation at the expo. That's going to be the
Okay.
forerunner, the
Oh,
the little intro, as it were.
Yep.
And we'll be doing more about finding your spirit helpers, getting your support team in place, that sort of thing. It's going to be an interesting time.
I remember my very first journey when I was studying with the shaman, and we went to find who our power animal was. You know, and the first one I came across was a dinosaur.
Oh, interesting.
But it wasn't the dinosaur was my power. It was kind of my connection.
Yes. Yeah.
And brought me to my power animal,
Sometimes that happens.
which turned out to be an iguana. Odd, what I still to this day find a little odd, but I love it. I've always loved lizards, all lizards.
Okay, well, there you
You
go.
know, so, and what's a dinosaur but a big lizard, really? I mean, I don't know scientifically if it's, but in my mind, it's just a giant lizard.
Well, that's
So
true
it
enough.
all kind of came together.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget those experiences. You know, the journey, you know, I know they often use the going underground or going up to the sky, but really it's going deep into yourself.
Exactly. It's the within part.
Yes, it's so, it can be life-changing.
Well, it is life-changing because now you've become aware at a whole other level.
Right.
One of my first journeys, power animals and all this, there was a bear, and then there was an elephant, and there was a rabbit. Okay, rabbit, elephant. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Always thank them, okay? But
Right,
then I asked them.
of course.
The bear I had a sense of. The elephant, I said, so if you're my power animal, what message do you have for me? One word. Remember.
Oh, makes total
Remember.
sense.
That's right.
Yes.
And then the rabbit, this cute little cuddly little guy, all right, said, so what's your message? Don't be afraid.
Nice.
Yeah. So see, there's something in these journeys, there's something that when you do go within, that you will always come out becoming a little bit wiser, a little smarter, a little more aware. I like to say aware because the awareness means that your eyes have seen something totally different and you will be changing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, one of my big things. Look beyond the obvious. See beyond the obvious.
Right.
And that's what this does. This takes you into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an experience that everybody should give themselves.
It's what used to happen in the old time, way back when cultures were simpler in some ways. They were very ritualistic in other ways. But there were always those who would teach the others, who were always there for the others to say, we have the wisdom. You're going to be, I'm going to mentor you, you'll be my protege. You will learn the secrets of this because there are things here that we need to share with the rest of the tribe or the clan
Right.
or whatever else. I'm so glad that along the way, even in modern times, that has not been forgotten.
Right.
Because that's where we have been able to be exposed to this and get to a new awareness level.
And it's all over the world.
Yes, isn't it amazing?
It predates any other religion, for lack of a better word. And every culture.
They kind of cringed, though, when you said
Yeah.
religion. Spirituality.
That's why I said lack of a better word, because,
Yeah,
because we won't go there. But it amazes me. Growing up, I had a friend from Peru, and her family were so amazing. And then, like I said, I always thought I was Native American, so I gravitated to that. But then studying it, really studying how it's everywhere. Russia, South America, North America, Canada, Europe, Antarctica, everywhere.
The wisdom is there
It's everywhere.
for those who wish to partake of it.
Yes. And like you said earlier, the commonalities are so much stronger than the differences.
Yes, absolutely.
Which just proves that we are all just one. We are all one.
Yay!
Despite the difference in our appearance or whatever, our core values are all
the same. Yes.
Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to prosper. Not everybody wants to live in a mega mansion, and but that's fine. Prosperity has different meanings to different people.
Right.
But we all want to be happy.
Yes.
And living in harmony with Mother Earth.
That's the harmony.
And with the animals, and with every entity that resides on this planet. The wind, the trees, the fish, the birds, everything.
Yes.
Living in harmony with all makes all of our lives so much better.
Well, I love the word harmony because I hear a song. I hear the song of the universe. I hear the song of the trees. The trees have wonderful language. The song of, as my friend would say, the elementals, the four-leggeds and the two-leggeds, right? There's an incredibly beautiful song of life. And each one of us, whether they're animals, whether you're plant life, whether it's from the universe, whatever, Mother Earth, we all have a piece of that song. And it's just absolutely beautiful, since we recognize we are part of it. And as I say to some people who might feel, well, I live alone, and you never have to be alone if you choose not to be.
Right.
You can be in your own little apartment, totally by yourself, and not be alone.
Exactly. Alone is a choice.
That's exactly right.
And we all have moments when we want to physically be alone.
Yes.
But we don't ever have to be physically alone, as you said.
Or emotionally alone, or know that the connectedness is there. There might be times when you feel you don't want that. Okay, that's fine. And then other times when you really need the connectedness. You savor the connectedness. That's a much better word than need. You savor the connectedness, knowing that things that have happened are going to probably continue to happen. Is a whole long continuum, and you're a part of that. You're a part of that. And because you're part of that, you can make a change.
Right.
And you can have a far-reaching change. You have that power, that clarity. You simply know what it is that you can do as an individual. You are not powerless.
Right. Right. And it's a beautiful thing.
It is indeed.
It really is something that it is my desire that everybody realize that in their own lives.
That is part of my goal, that people understand the richness of the awareness levels and to know just what possibilities they have.
So we're counting down on time. Do you have a final message you want to put out there to everyone?
Love replaces fear. It's that simple. When there is no fear, all that's left is love.
Amen. Amen to that. And, that's such a simple statement that if we all embraced, because everybody has what we label as fear at some point in their lives.
Of course, yeah.
Whether it's physical fear or made up in our head fear. But fear is, I love the acronym, false evidence appearing real, because there really is nothing to fear. If you think about what is the worst possible thing that could happen.
Mm-hmm. Dying.
Most people would say it's dying,
of course.
Right? Okay, that just means you go from this plane to the next.
That's right. The transition.
Right? You just move from one space to another space. And that's not going to happen until it's your time for that to happen.
That's
and
right.
Then no matter what you do, you can't stop it when it's that time.
When your soul purpose has been accomplished,
right,
then is there any other reason for you to be here? Probably not.
Right. So why be afraid?
That's right.
My big thing is get out there, enjoy your life, love everybody, everything. Even the guy who's sitting too long at the traffic light, because
you put a little sticking on your dashboard saying, "Okay, joy."
Right, right. Because there might be a reason that you're unaware of why you need to sit at that traffic
That's
light.
Right.
I mean, it's, you don't know, an ambulance might be coming through in the next second, and if that guy hadn't hesitated, you would have been in the intersection.
There you go.
You don't know. Or it could be something beautiful, like for me, when I look out the car window and I see a bald eagle flying over me.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But if I'd been rushing, I might never have seen that. And the majesty of birds.
Oh,
come on.
Yeah, the hawks. I love the hawks.
Yeah. Like I said, I have actually 3 different types of hawks that live in my neighborhood.
Really?
I was so shocked.
Huh.
I have the red-tailed hawk we see all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there's the Cooper hawk.
Okay.
And then the other one I had never heard of before, and now I'm going to forget the name of it. And I had to look it up. I had never seen it. It was sitting with a bunch of pigeons one day, and I'm like, but that's a hawk.
A new version of the ugly duckling.
And it was a little bigger than the pigeons.
Yes,
but
it
it was
would be.
clearly a hawk.
Uh-huh.
And I had to go home and look it up. I can't remember what it was called now, but that's right. That's what it does. It just hangs out with the pigeons, and then when it gets hungry, eats one.
Sure. But even on a walk, you might find a little garter snake or something. I had one, a little one about that big, crossed my path. He was afraid because I was there and I'm making bump, bump, bump.
Right.
He feels the vibration.
Right,
So I
right.
stopped. And all he really wanted to do was to go across my path and go to this little rock wall. But he was so beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Perfectly formed, just a little guy, but perfectly formed with little yellow stripes. And he just wanted to go home.
Right.
And so I enjoyed that gift.
I'm one of those people when I'm walking down the street and I see the red-spotted newt in the street. I pick him up and put him on the side of the road, or the turtle or whatever.
Out of the roadway.
Out of the road. Don't get run
Out of
over.
danger, yes.
We had a nice blessing the other day. We've lived in our house well over 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And we've only ever seen the beaver maybe 4 times.
Uh-huh.
But the other day we saw 2 beavers.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you have a pond?
Yeah, a wetlands, on our street, yeah. And they were coming, obviously working on something together, coming at it from different angles.
Of course, teamwork.
But it was beautiful to see in animals, the teamwork.
Absolutely.
We stood there for quite a while staring at them. It was really beautiful. Well, we are almost out of time. I want to thank you for coming. I look forward to your talk at the expo.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you for letting me come into your home and sit in for Dr. Kevin. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. And if not, well, hopefully I'll be here to fill in for him. And we just want to say thank you for everything and for sharing with us. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time. So thank you again. And we will be seeing you on April 21st and 22nd.
Yes.
And we hope you'll come back again.
Well, thank you. I just might.
And thank you, everybody.